So as you remember, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amanda.
And we are part of or founders of AsUR Counselling and Consulting.
Mhm.
So those of you who are watching that are maybe parents or supports or partners or friends of people who have taken this workshop, or you're interested in taking the workshop yourself, what we're doing today is just going quickly over what we did in each workshop and going over the worksheet together.
As we promised, we put together one section for each of the tools that we discussed. To start, the first worksheet is on externalization. Also known as how to externalize the problem that you're experiencing. To start, we provided a quick summary of what externalization means. The next section is, again, a quick summary of why externalization helps. We then provided some examples of how externalization works. And we've also plugged in a quick video, which we think is a great example of how externalization can be used. And lastly, if you want to give it a try, we've also plugged in some, what do you call this, Sam? Formulas? Scripts?
So externalization is a process that takes a problem that we kind of see as part of us and puts it outside of us. So the person is the person and the problem is the problem. So what we talked about in group was saying, instead of saying, I am an anxious person, we were saying, I'm a person who experiences anxiety. And we talked a lot about doing that with other people as well. Mm-hmm. So instead of saying that person is an anxious person, as an example again, that person is experiencing anxiety. And so we may start to treat them as a person rather than a person with that is just a problem to us. Mm-hmm. What that helps with is just creating a space between us and the problem itself. It's much easier to work on a problem that is over here than a problem that is deep within us. Just a quick thing about the video. This video was part of the World Health Organization talking about mental health. And it's a widely used tool and actually comes with books for adults and books for kids as well. And it's linked there if you're wanting to use this ever. But it's a really good example of someone's experience with depression and how they worked with depression throughout their life. And they would describe it as a big black dog. So I encourage you to take a look at that and maybe share it around with people in your life, because it is an amazing tool for people who are experiencing just depressive days or experiencing just a bunch of sad days. Since the pandemic, I think more people have been experiencing just some harder emotional times. So it's a great resource to share.
The second worksheet we've got is on mindfulness, also known as the practice of being present. And the structure of this sheet is pretty much the same as the one on externalization. We've started by giving you some of our favorite definitions of what mindfulness means. Followed up by why we do it, why it's helpful. And we finished by giving you just a couple of quick mindfulness exercises that you can start trying at home. Now, the good thing about these exercises is that you really can do it anywhere, anytime. It doesn't require any actual tools. And you can do it really quickly, 1 or 2 rounds, or if you have the space and you're interested, you can try doing it for a longer period of time too. Now, mindfulness exercises, I'd say it's kind of like going to the gym. You know, when you first start, you might not notice any changes right away. But the beauty of this is that if you continue to do this and slowly make this a habit, over time you will start to notice a difference in how it makes you feel. And you might also notice that at the end of the worksheet, we've included a video as well. The reason for that is because we just heard that from some of our clients that it can be difficult to start or go through a mindfulness exercise on their own, and sometimes it helps to have someone to guide the process. So this is just a video that we have in our tool belt that we like to use as a guided mindfulness practice. If you do a quick YouTube search, I'm sure all of you are very familiar with YouTube. There's a whole bunch of guided mindfulness exercises on there that you can explore. So this is just, really just a taste.
Mm-hmm. And something that we were able to talk about in session is the effect of mindfulness has on our bodies. So we talked about being able to do that breathing techniques. And if we're experiencing a lot of anxiety, or anxiety is really present, or sadness is really present, or anger is present, that anxiety kind of takes us from up here, living high up in our emotions, brings us down to the present, and is able to calm our bodies. And sometimes calming our bodies helps calm our minds as well. We might be able to engage in conversation then that isn't fueled by anxiety, or fueled by anger, or fueled by whatever it is that's kind of making it possible to say things that you wouldn't normally say, or not feel like you're able to think straight. So it's just calming our bodies and then our minds.
Mm-hmm.
The next tool that we were talking about was setting and maintaining boundaries. So again, we're going through what boundaries are, and we talked a lot about what types of boundaries we can actually have in session. And that was, I think, a bit surprising for a lot of people, of how many different kinds of boundaries people might set. A really big example of boundaries right now with the COVID-19 is personal space. It is made very clear to everybody that 6 feet or 2 meters is what personal space is right now. And that's a clear boundary where we're able to actually say it to people. Hey, sorry, you're a bit too close. I need to maintain 6 feet. We're doing social distancing. Mm-hmm. Other types of boundaries might be our personal belongings, like not wanting to share your clothes with your siblings is a really big one for teenagers. Your labor and time, how much you want to do, how much time you want to spend on something. For some people, that is, all these online phone calls that everybody's having right now. For some people, that's a lot of emotional labor. And they may cap it off at 20 minutes. I have lots of people that I know that can't be on the phone for a whole hour because it's not the same kind of conversations as it would be in person. It takes a lot more concentration, and that's just all they're able to do and feel good about. So that's the boundary, 20 minutes. Other kinds of boundaries might be boundaries around beliefs, thoughts, opinions, having boundaries around what type of conversations you want to have with what type of people. I know a lot of people are not wanting to have a lot of conversations around maybe politics right now, and that's a hard boundary for people. Or at your actual physical space, boundaries around who's allowed to come into your room, boundaries around you having to knock before people come into your room, boundaries around what type of conversations you're going to consent to having, if you're willing to have a really personal conversation with somebody or not. So those are the types of boundaries we might have.
On the worksheet, we've listed some of the common myths that we busted during the workshop, like boundaries are bad because it keeps people apart, or boundaries don't work because they make people feel rejected, or boundaries punish the other person. And we also listed some facts about boundaries from talking about these common misconceptions. One really important piece is that boundaries do go both ways, meaning that it's about you saying no to the other person as well as you accepting no from the other person. And really setting appropriate boundaries really go a long way in relationships. It helps keep all the yucky stuff away, like abuse, harassment, or negative emotions, and invites respect, transparency, communication, and understanding, and things that help maintain a relationship.
And that's the big piece too, is that boundaries kind of require communication. In order for people to understand our boundaries, we need to communicate them. What is comfortable for me might not be comfortable for you. So, for example, somebody standing really close to me pre-COVID was never something I was very comfortable with. And my boundary would be kind of about this much personal space. And in order for people to actually know that about me, I would have to say it to them. And if I don't say it, they're not doing it on purpose to hurt my feelings. I have to communicate my boundary.
And I think this can also be used in conjunction with the tools that we mentioned above. A big part of starting to think about the idea of boundaries is also that it's also a process of you getting to know what really truly what are you comfortable with. Where if you really are starting to set some parameters, where would you like them to be? And engaging in some externalization conversations or mindfulness exercises with yourself, I'd say would be a great starting point. Yeah. And on the worksheets, we just included a couple of examples that we touched on, that we talked about a lot more, and there are many, many other ways to set boundaries than what we've listed here. But the idea of this worksheet is really just to, get your brain going, get you started on thinking about ways you can set boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And I really like some of the examples that we actually have here, and I'm just going to pull one out just to leave people with an example before I move on. So I know you're used to doing whatever you want when you get home. I would say this to my kid. I know you're used to doing whatever you want when you get home, but I'd be much more comfortable if you were to come home and put your things in your bedroom and not left at the front door, because I am nervous to trip down the stairs. So the boundary there is kind of personal space or shared communal space. I prefer that you not leave your personal belongings in a communal space because it causes danger in the house, it being left at the top of the stairs. So the boundary being it can't be left at the top of the stairs, and instead I would prefer it in your bedroom. The very last one we have was a part of communication that often gets missed. We're often talking about how do we communicate our own emotions, and we kind of flipped it this time and looked at it from the viewpoint of how do we communicate that we understand somebody else's experience and emotions. So we said this is helping understanding and validating the emotions of others. So validating someone else's emotions is showing them that we are at the very least attempting to understand them. And even if we get it wrong, we're open to being corrected. And it's also for us to say, I see you. I get that you're going through a hard time, and I'm here for you. And so that often looks like kind of reflecting back what they're experiencing in a way that is very gentle and very understanding. So we in our group together, we used, I see that you're feeling upset right now because I said I would go to the mall with you, and because I can't today, and despite the fact that you and I planned this last week, and because you've been really looking forward to it, and I've disappointed you by canceling it last minute. And so in that example, I'm saying why the person is upset. It's because I canceled last minute to go to the mall with them, which is really disappointing. And I said that in there. I would expect you to be very disappointed in this. I own that this situation is not what you'd prefer, and it would be upsetting. I'm not trying to defend it. I'm not trying to deflect it. I'm not trying to turn it around and blame it on them. I'm just stating this is an upsetting situation, and I can see that you're upset by it. And it's kind of like, that sucks. I'm sorry that this is happening. Mm-hmm. And the next step that we would do would be to meet their needs. So if the person is really upset or distraught, they might want a hug, they may want space, they may not be done being upset with you. That's okay. They need some space, they need time to think, they'll calm down. Mm-hmm. Not trying to convince them not to feel something that they kind of just get to feel. They might want a glass of water, they might want to talk about it some more. So we're just kind of meeting whatever need is there. And then we can go to problem solving. And so often we want to start with problem solving because we want to help the other person. We want to make that pain go away. We're not starting with problem solving, though. We're going validating their emotion, meeting whatever needs they have that come up, and then we're going into problem solving. I know that it's really disappointing that we didn't go into the shop today and you were really wanting those pair of jeans. I have some time this Sunday. Is it possible that we go then? Or it might be that they just wanted to spend some time with you. I know that I promised to spend time with you today and things got in the way, and that was really upsetting and disappointing for you. Is it possible that after I'm done cooking dinner and cleaning up, that we go for a walk together? I know it's not what you wanted, but it might be a way to spend a little bit of time today. So it's really trying to problem solve what was disappointing So if not getting the pair of jeans is what was disappointing, then I'm problem solving that with them. If spending time with me was what they were looking forward to, mall didn't even really matter, it was the spending time, then I'd problem solve that piece. But that might be you needing to ask more questions. What would you prefer? Do you want to go to the mall on the weekend, or can we do that and maybe go for a walk today, or do you just want to go for a walk today? And they might say no to all of it and come up with their own idea. That's great too.
So we listed 4 steps on the worksheet that you could follow. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't mean that it has to go step after step after step. We outlined it there so that you can, just to give you a general idea of how the conversation could flow. There's lots of room for for you to add questions or things you like to say in between.
Mm-hmm. And the only thing I have about the step after step after step is that validation always comes before problem solving. Just so we're making sure that we're problem solving the actual problem. Mm-hmm. Because when we validate, we give people the opportunity to correct us. Maybe we've completely misunderstood. That's okay. And then they get to correct us, which is great because now we're communicating.
Yeah. And again, I know I said this earlier about the other tools, but this also is a great opportunity for you to use some of the tools that we talked about before. Let's say if what they needed is to have some time to process and you're feeling quite on edge because you don't know how long it's going to take them to process their feelings, then it might be helpful for you to practice some mindfulness exercises while you wait, or try to practice externalizing what just happened for you. Ultimately, the idea is that you're able to pick and choose what tools that would work for you in the situation. Either use them together or use one after the other.
So that was a really quick version of what we covered in our groups. Yeah. It was such a pleasure to get to know you all. Thank you so much for participating. It's the first time we've ever run an online group, and you were all really great to work with. So we really appreciate that. And we hope to see you again soon.
Yes. Everything Sam just said, I'd like to echo them. And of course, if you have any questions or would like to get in touch, feel free to reach out to Joette at SquarePeg, or you can email us directly.
At AsUR Counselling at gmail.com.
Yes.
Or AsURcounseling.com for our website. And we'll see you all in the future, we hope.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.